Hello, welcome to the Media Club. I'm your host, Matt Deegan. In the club today, we're at the British Podcast Awards at the O2. Next door to the O2, the Indigo 2. Lady Gaga is our neighbour for the night. It's arguably one of the biggest nights in the media as the worlds of radio, TV and journalism all have a stake in this still young medium, all trying to boost engagement, revenue and reach for their shows, whilst wrestling with paywalls, video and various new opportunities. We'll chat to some of the big winners backstage and catch up with some of the attendees. That's all coming up in this edition of the Media Club. Come on in. Okay, so the awards are about to start, but don't worry, we've sent Ollie Peart backstage to catch up with some of the winners.
Carmilla, host of the podcast Kill List.
Congratulations. 2 awards, one night.
I know. I mean, look, I'm not normally stumped for words, but I really am. It's kind of quite hard to put this into words. It's quite an emotional day. You know, it's 4 years we took doing Kill List, and I never really thought it would ever ripple onto stages like it has and to win awards it has. So yeah, it's an amazing feeling. Quite overwhelming.
Yeah, I bet. I actually was going to be one of my questions about like how long it takes you to produce a series, to create it. So I mean how long is that? Are you saying that's taken 4 years?
It took literally 4 years. I mean, and for anyone who's listened to Kill List, they'll probably know why. I mean, like there were points where we genuinely didn't know whether we could ever tell the story. I mean, there were massive legal complications with everything. There was massive complications to do with people's safety, to do with the safety of us as the team doing it. So there were points we'd sit down and be like, is anyone actually going to be able to hear what we've been doing? You know, doing in secret for all this time. So it was in jeopardy, I think, for quite a long time. Yeah, it really was. And so, like, look, I mean, 2022 Carl would kill to like know that like this finally, not actually literally kill, of course, but to know that we finally got it out, and obviously to receive the unbelievable recognition that it has.
Do you feel like these kind of investigative stories, production companies are winding back on them a little bit and not, you know, where's the money going to come from? Like you say, to put into 4 years worth of production to create something like the Kill List. Are you worried about the future of these kind of shows?
Yeah, I'm really worried. I mean, like, you know, insofar as you see the commercials of podcasts to essentially be attention capture, there's obviously much cheaper ways of doing attention capture. You know, there's lots of other kind of formats that like don't take as much time, can produce way more content, and that people find meaningful and really listen to. But as an investigative journalist, that massively worries me because, you know, our job isn't attention capture. Our job is to hold the powerful to account and to expose stories that are important for society to know about. You know, that is the point of the Fourth Estate. That's why journalism isn't just another industry. It's why we're kind of part of a healthy democratic society. And you do see that kind of beginning to recede, you know, not just in podcasting, but in radio and in television and journalism across the board. Where the money's going to come from, I mean, ultimately, hopefully, it will come from people voting with their feet. I mean, we need people to listen to these things, you know, and we need producers and companies to continue to back them. Otherwise, they will just like slowly recede away, and the kind of landscape, people's information diets will look a lot different.
You're working with Novel. They have a bit of a track record of taking things and then basically making them into TV shows. Do you think this is something that might happen with Kill List? Is that even on the cards for you to make a transition over to TV at all?
Well, I'm not able to talk about too much of that.
In the news recently as well, there's been, you know, thinking about the dark web and hackers and all that kind of stuff. We've had recently, as we're recording, this hacking group which have hacked into a nursery and, like, you know, nicked all these photos and that kind of stuff. Do you think the kind of work that you do you think actually there's going to be so much more of this that I can dig into?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, look, I've always been fascinated at this like intersection of technology and power and mystery. You know, and to kind of try and both look into the areas of the kind of digital world that seem to be really overlooked and and enshadowed, you know, trying to expose to people what they really are. I'm also really interested in the actual technical art of investigative journalism and how you sometimes need to use all these new kinds of tools to really expose what's really going on, whether that's kind of crypto tracing or whether that's what Chris was doing in terms of hacking into the site for Kill List. So yes, I mean, more power and therefore more abuse is definitely moving into the digital world. We're definitely going to see more of our our lives, both shaped and imperiled by what happens there. And of course, therefore, journalism needs to move into those spaces as well. There's far more cybersecurity stories now than there was 10 years ago. It's becoming kind of just entwined in the whole of life. But to go back to your previous question, the real question here isn't, are there stories there? It's, are there journalists that are empowered and equipped to actually go out there and spend the time to really track them down? That's the real question. It's not that the stories don't exist. It's whether we'll be able to find them and bring them to people.
It's been an undercurrent theme tonight, speaking to people, that there's sort of a feeling of unease of how things are going in the world at the moment. Are you an optimist?
Yeah, I'm a massive optimist. I mean, I feel like, it depends which bit of pessimism you mean, whether democracy is dissolving or whether the media landscape is sliding. Like, what I do know, and I spend a lot of time both in conversations around the media landscape and also those around protecting democracy, I do know that there are all these ideas and passion and new things that are happening to try and protect those things. So I think ultimately democracies will prevail. I think journalism will prevail. I think both those two things will have to look very different to the way that they do now. And we can't, basically, this is almost getting into my role as a think tanker, which is actually what I do a lot of the time as well. We can't defend the status quo. Like, those of us that want journalism, want democracy, we can't simply defend the kinds of democracies and journalism we see today. They need to evolve, and that's the trick, is what journalism will look like, who does it, who pays for it, how it's done. All those things are going to change.
Well, on that note, congratulations. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Honestly, what a stellar win. Well done.
Thank you very much. That's so kind of you.
Next up in the dingy backstage cloakroom was the winners of the Podcast Champion Award, Pod Save the UK.
May, I'm the producer with James Tyndall, who's not here.
I'm Coco Kahn, I'm one of the hosts with Nish Kumar.
Joby Waldman, I'm creative director and runner.
I'm Nodis Milinich, I'm the digital producer, so I look after the socials.
But I'll start with you, Coco, because I wanted to know how you are managing doing the podcast whilst having a small child. That's basically what I want to know.
I'm not managing, friend. I'm insane.
Yeah.
My body hurts, my head hurts, my eyes are constantly watering. But, it's a politics podcast, and becoming a mum, it's weird actually, because I think sometimes the stereotype is that when you have kids, you step out of society, but actually it's made me lean more into it. I feel more political from this act. So actually being able to work on a show and put that energy into a place that's productive was really helpful, and I've had an amazing team that have supported me coming back as a young mum. It's in like, my baby is young, I am not young. If you were like, oh, another one lost to teenage pregnancy, yeah, it's okay, don't worry.
But did you coming back so soon, did you feel like, there's a responsibility on me here to actually just come back as soon as possible? I can't take a break from this because everything is just gone to shit.
I mean, it's many, many different feelings at once. So yes, definitely the time is now to act in terms of politics. I've been really, in the couple of years I've been doing the show, I've been so grateful that I feel that other podcasts and other media is starting to, I'm going to say, fall in line with more progressive ideas, and being part of that wave is a privilege, but it's also a responsibility that I wear heavily, if I'm completely honest. But at the same time, children are gorgeous, but they don't have great chat, so it was good mentally for me as well. And also I just love the show. The show is another baby, and I care about it, and I want to be there to see it grow. So it's lots of different things all at once.
So yeah, you've got 2 kids then, so you need to look after. That's basically the deal. Yeah. Mate, so with the show as well, since Trump got in, what have you noticed with audiences? Have they actually started to climb up? Are they coming to you for reassurance, just to let people know that actually everything's kind of all right?
Well, I would say that Nish and Coco got approached to host the Stop Trump rally last week, so yeah, they're definitely coming for Pod Save the UK. I feel like, it definitely feels like a more important moment. People are like searching for alternative narratives because, like, obviously the news is just dominated by Nigel Farage, Donald Trump. And I feel like we're really bringing something that's like unique and different to that space, and like I think that's something we're trying to do every week, is just like bring like a different type of politics to the forefront, basically, with our show. Yeah. JB,
have you tweaked anything that you're doing with the show as a result of Trump coming in? Is there things that you've changed? You thought you have to approach things slightly differently?
We're aware that headlines with Trump in them, or straplines or show titles, tend to garner more views, that people will click on stories about Trump out of outrage and anger, and it can be tempting to go down that route in order to engage audiences because we are compelled to increase the impact and the numbers of people listening to the show, watching the show. But we try and mix it up. And one of the things about Pod Save the UK that does make it distinct is that we bring activists and social justice campaigners onto the show with pragmatic and optimistic ideas, and so it's a balance. We want to engage the emotion, but we also, which can be outraged, and sometimes it's right to be angry, but at the same time we need to bring in glimmers of hope, of humour, and that's what Coco and Nish do every week.
Nada, is that the same with the social stuff as well? Like when you're looking for clips for social media, what is it that you're trying to evoke from your audience, I suppose? What kind of reaction are you trying to get?
Yeah, so I think it's really easy to kind of, and I think there is a place for anger, absolutely, like at the moment. But I think what has brought me the most joy has really been kind of amplifying the positive stuff that people are doing on the ground, the activism, the people that are kind of fighting for social change, and that makes my job worthwhile. So.
And just one last question: your colleagues in the US, Coco. So, how have they been impacted by this? Why do we have to keep talking about him? I don't know, but it must have been a monumental change for them. Do they feel like they're under attack? Do they feel like things are slightly different there?
I mean, I can't speak for them, of course. That it certainly appears to me that everything that is the disaster of Trump is moving very, very fast, and seemingly every day a new horror is unveiled. The last time I spoke to the US team would probably be a few weeks, if not a few months ago. No doubt their feelings would have transformed in that time, because things would have probably gotten, I'd hazard a guess, worse. But it was really clear on that day that Trump came in. It was noticeable that our colleagues across the sea were down, were sad, and I think they have every right to be. One thing I would say though was really inspirational was that after the initial shock and horror, immediately there was this feeling of like, okay, we need to get up and go. As progressives, we are needed more than ever. Let's do some soul searching. Let's reflect. Let's learn. Let's get up. Let's be fast, and let's take this motherfucker down. And actually from across the way, because we had a Labour win, I think everyone thought, oh, God, we won't have to think about that. Actually, that lesson happening is one that we can take lessons from ourselves, and having our colleagues across the water be a resource for us to draw on. What does it look like to inject hope into an audience that probably, rightfully, is in shock about what is going on, or didn't expect it, or is maybe even in denial about certain elements of it? How do we do that? So, couldn't speak for them, but I think it's fair to say shock, horror, despair, but also deep motivation and incredible drive.
Well, temporarily just leave all the horribleness to one side for this evening and enjoy the fact that you won the award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
From the newly announced HERA, Kirsty, Nishma and Rosie.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So you've emerged, fully formed this week.
So they're merging out like goddesses.
That's exciting. What's the plan?
Well, the plan is, I suppose, part of kind of world domination with our podcast. It's about disrupting and giving stories and opportunities to women. So it's about recognising all the stories that are not being told, commercialising the huge opportunities that exist in terms of podcasting and its influence, and bringing those worlds together.
So why this now?
I guess I run a production company, Story Hunter, and for many years I've obviously been pitching ideas and noticing there's a bit of a trend, Matt, I don't know if you've noticed, that there's a lot of men behind mics and not as many women. And we think women have stories to tell. And I know from creating Lady Killers, top 10 BBC Sounds podcast 3 years in a row, that when you create incredible female content, people listen. All people listen. Would you agree, Rosie, from your time at the BBC?
Definitely, but also as a technologist, we're a very dynamic team. We bring lots of different disciplines together. We've built this intentionally as an ecosystem. So essentially, we also want to give women, female creators at scale, the means of production so that they can go from idea to finished podcasts really quick, but still keeping that human element, right? It's not AI clone voices and all that. So we're really excited.
So 5 to 10 years ago, you could do podcasts in your bedroom. You could just get an app provider to shove some ads in. It's not the case now, is it? I mean, shows need a lot of broader selection of skills to help them be successful.
Indeed. And I think as a producer, coming from television, I think we've transferred some of those skills, but the barrier is really low at the moment, and anyone can make a fantastic podcast. But particularly around the HERA Club, we want to lift women up, which Nishma's been focusing on.
Yeah, and also I think with the brands, there's two things. I think brands and advertising is becoming so much more sophisticated now that it recognises how influential podcasts are. So you go from what would have been kind of like a little bit of spare money on a podcast to actually being a bigger part of the plan, which means it gets invested back into creative. And HERA Club is an opportunity, and we've been insanely overwhelmed by this, which I think shows exactly what's needed. There are so many female podcasters who are struggling to make it work because the access doesn't exist, not because their content's not brilliant, because the access doesn't exist, the tools, the knowledge, the opportunity. So our belief is that we can build that aggregated community of women, which so far I suggest is very much there, to be able to not only create a bigger audience for brands to reach, but also be able to help up-level and increase opportunity for female podcasters.
So you put a call out for women to get in touch is it with new show ideas, or is it existing shows finding a new home?
Yeah, it could be existing shows, it could be people who've got an idea. I think part of this was an intel of seeing how many women have podcasts. If we look at the top 10 or the top 100, they're not penetrating that, and it's not because they're not great. So it's, people who've already got a podcast, people who are thinking about creating a podcast, business leaders, founders who are thinking of doing it. We know that's a huge growth area. And there's a lot of opportunity out there.
So if someone's got an idea and they want to get in touch, where should they go?
Hello at HERA.media.
Hello at HERA.media. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers. The Media Club is supported by Audio Network, whose library provides music that is written, recorded and produced with your production in mind. If you've seen Seth Rogen's recent Emmy Award-winning show, The Studio, you'll have heard Audio Network underscoring the humour, drama and cinematic tension that defines the series. And they can do this for you, offering mixes, stems and cut downs to make your story easy. Just head to audionetwork.com to explore their full catalogue and sign up today. That's audionetwork.com.
Hello Media Club listeners, Patrick here from Podcast Discovery, the podcast marketing company, where this week we've been thinking about how to be superhuman. No, I'm not having delusions of grandeur, I'm talking about the Red Bull podcast with ultra runner Rob Pope, which we had the joy of working on earlier this year. After providing support for their virtual studio and PR, we also helped out the team with their British Podcast Awards entry, for which they won silver at this week's big ceremony. Congrats to the team. To find out what we could do for you, get in touch at podcastdiscovery.com. That's podcastdiscovery.com.
Welcome back. So some of the things we've been talking about in the club this week are news publishers who do deals with OpenAI have 7 times the click-through compared to those that don't, according to the Press Gazette. The news comes from a State of the Bots report published this week by Tollbit, which suggests that this cherry-picking of media outlets is crowding out smaller publications. Advertising needs to address its diversity problem, well, so says another report issued this week, this time by Channel 4. Standards are slipping, with 5% of characters in ads featuring people who are defined as plus size, a significant drop from 13% in 2023, and 4% of ads feature disabled people, despite making up 18% of the UK population. And 5 former Observer journalists have pulled their redundancy to launch a new publication. The journalists, which include Carol Cadwallader, have launched a new venture, The Nerve, which will start as a twice-weekly newsletter with ambitions of an occasional print edition for subscribers too. Links to all of our stories are available on our Substack. Just head to themediaclub.com. If you sign up there, you'll also get briefed on Monday Update on what all the other media podcasts are talking about as well. So just head to themediaclub.com. Right, let's get back into the throng.
I'm Rory Ketland Jones. I'm one of the presenters of Movers and Shakers, a podcast about living with Parkinson's.
First of all, how did it come about?
It started because half a dozen of us were meeting in the pub to have what we called a laugh and a moan about living with Parkinson's. And one of us, who happened to be a High Court judge, Sir Nicholas Mostyn, very forceful character, kept saying we ought to do a podcast. The rest of us said, what a bad idea, but he won us over eventually. And that was 2.5 years ago, and now we've done more than 80 episodes, and we can finally admit that the judge may have been right.
And when that idea was sort of, first put forward, was there anything else out there where people were having a discussion about Parkinson's, or was there just a lack of that?
We felt that there wasn't, that it was the great secret disease. It was in the shadows, and people, once we started doing it, people said, thank God people are talking about this, because we've been ignored for too long. We've got this reputation as being something that only affects old men, and there just wasn't enough honesty about this disease, how prevalent it is, and how bad, frankly, a lot of the treatment is in the UK.
And has it sort of helped you going through your experience with Parkinson's? Has it been useful for you? Have you sort of learnt things about the disease that perhaps you didn't know?
Oh, absolutely. Every week is an education. I've ended up writing a book about Parkinson's, so it's certainly affected me. We get in the world's experts. We get in people with Parkinson's. We get in people with all sorts of ideas for better ways of looking after people with Parkinson's, and we have a good laugh.
Well, that's the most important thing, I'd imagine. So what's next for the podcast? Have you got any kind of things that you want to try that I don't know? I mean, how do you record at the moment? Are you recording remotely or in the studio?
We record in a pub. We record in the same pub where we used to meet in Notting Hill. It's not comfortable. It's not ideal. Our producer, Nick Hilton, does a great job of making it sound all right while all the noise is going on in the background. But that's what we do.
I mean, that's podcasting 101, isn't it? Record in a pub. That's kind of how they were all born. Well, look, I wish you all the best, and congratulations on the award as well, Rory.
Thank you very much indeed.
I'm Bertie Moores. Sorry, is the camera on?
Yeah, camera is on. Yeah.
We're audio people. I'm Bertie Moores. I'm one of the producers of the Elis, James and John Robbins show.
Hello, I'm Michael Dale. I'm one of the producers of the Elis, James and John Robbins show.
First of all, congratulations. How do you feel about the award, Bertie?
Yeah, really exciting. Like, you don't often get to go up on stage in front of so many other incredible shows and win something. It's just really fun.
What is the Elis and John secret sauce? They seem to be doing very, very well at the moment.
Well,
the secret sauce.
Yeah, I would say it's, seeing as me and Bertie are the ones standing here, and I don't see Elis and John standing here, I'd say it's us.
No, they are on tour, we should say. Yeah. And that secret sauce is probably that they just have an inherent understanding of what is and isn't funny. They've been in the medium and the industry so long that they know exactly what to say, even if at times it can be completely off the wall. And in turn, they know how to make something that's a little bit different, but equally kind of very well paced. And I think that kind of natural but slightly wacky approach to some things ultimately kind of makes them a really evergreen pair, and it's why the show continues to be really popular. Like, even after we're long gone and in the grave potentially, they'll probably still be going and reaching out to so many fans of theirs.
What is your role in working with them? Like, how do you make sure that you're getting the absolute best out of those guys? What's your route to do that?
Well, I'd say it's fairly easy because they are so brilliant. You know, they're like the perfect combo of the dad everyman, Elis, and the sort of interesting. How would you describe John? Interesting, different man.
Yeah, he's a man who specialises more in emotional heft, and that contrast brings out so much of them. But for us, in terms of what we put to them, the fact that we can throw them so many different random setups, whether it's a feature or a different way of doing an interview, we know that they'll be able to completely take it in their stride. So compared to, we work on other shows as well, and in those you don't get the same breadth of options and features that you can do, because the presenters might not necessarily be as nimble or just get what something requires in a certain moment. So for us as producers, it's really, really freeing. And we do another show with John where it's a lot more kind of intense and kind of mental health podcast, how do you cope? But he can take that in his stride in a completely different way. And so just that nimbleness allows us to go to them with it could be something like, Elis, you've got 60 seconds to connect with a Welsh person that you may or may not know, and see if you can find a connection through them. Or it could be John talking for an hour about a silent retreat that he's been on. We can kind of give them anything and they take it completely in their stride. Yeah,
I've never known anyone to talk about or drag out. I'm going to say drag out. stories about hotels over weeks and weeks and weeks, like and the Cymru Connect, which is just amazing. So, I mean, it is very, very funny. What is next then? Because you're like, I feel like you're doing so well, you're so successful. It's really funny, as you say. You've got all these great features. Like, you thinking, let's just stick to what we know. Let's just keep this going as it is. Or are you thinking, like, well, what are you thinking? What's next for it?
I mean, Dave's probably the one to answer that, the exec producer who's currently on tour with them. But I'll let you have a.
Well, it's just, I think with them, you know, there's actually not loads of planning that goes into things. Things just happen naturally. You know, Elis speaks to people from Wales and he finds a connection. We go, let's make a feature at it. John keeps going on about winning. We make a feature out of it. So it's just, you know, it's just more good stuff from them that's coming out naturally. They're brilliant, and it's just sort of, you know, more of that.
It's like it's as and when stuff pop up, being alive to that moment and making sure that it's kind of organic. Really, we have commissioners saying, "Oh, what are you going to do for Halloween or for Christmas?" And we sort of go, "Well, we don't really know." But the reason why people like the show is that feeling that it's not kind of all scheduled in months and months in advance, and just taking stuff on the fly and seeing where it goes, and that kind of wider forward planning stuff. Maybe there's kind of general goals for the show in terms of like who we might want to reach and so on, but it is quite freeform. I think people quite like that.
Well, congratulations. I'll let you get on and get out of the cloakroom and enjoy the rest of the evening.
From Audio Always, we're here with Ben Cartwright-Hughes.
Yes,
your new surname. You've just got married. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. The first time with my new name and everything. Thank you.
Really, that's the main award.
That is.
This is just like an extra thing off the back. So some awards tonight. A load of shows, Audio Always. What have you got?
Lots of nominations.
Yeah.
Secret Mum Club, Luke Jones for the Pitcairn Trials. Evie Pickrell got a silver award. Hell by Sex and My Boss got a couple of bronzes, which is lovely for our streaming into cinemas for the first time for a podcast. So yeah, and the nice thing about the bronze award is that in a couple of years I can just say it's gold.
So how motivated is it for the team to get nominations and to come to awards?
I think it's always nice. I think the main thing is always for us just to put our all into the shows and try and deliver for the listeners. But I think especially for the presenters and the whole team, being able to come together and come to these dudes is lovely as well. So I mean, I would say I've been to the podcast award since before I worked for Audio Always, which is a long time. And yeah, here we are.
It's good. Lots going on at Audio Always. Some changes in the management because you've been upgraded, which is good. Also some new shows as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be able to reel off all the new shows. There's probably more new shows than there were nominations for us tonight. But yeah, me, Pete Linney and Sam Davis are now the new content director team at Audio Always, which is really exciting. I'm working outside of London and Sam and Pete working outside of Manchester. We've just brought in The Girls' Bathroom, which is a massive existing show, so that's part of the Audio Always network now. Joe and James Fact Up launched a couple of weeks ago.
The In-Betweeners lads.
Yep. They got into a Fiat Cinquecento. I'm not able to say that.
That's good, yeah.
I did go up to them and say, have you seen the Fiat Punto outside? They were like, what are you talking about? But luckily that's not my show, that's Pete's. And also the amazing Jack Remington and Ash Holm, which a lot of people will know from social media. So we launched their show on YouTube and all the podcast platforms a couple of weeks ago as well. So and I'm sure that there are others in the mix as well.
I mean, video is such an important part of podcasting now. You guys are pretty good at that for short form and for long form.
Yeah.
It's essential now for a show to be successful, right?
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, it goes without saying that you need it, especially for the type of talent that we're working with. Like, you're not going to be able to do a show with the In-Betweeners and not have the faces all over it. I think obviously the challenge comes is that I feel like when Sexy My Boss, we moved into our little space. We had curtains that were made to look like bricks. Now we've got plastics that's made to look like bricks, but everyone can do it. It's so easy that it's not just us. I think we got in there at the right time for Sexted. That meant that we were able to get millions of views that translated to listens, and we're getting success with it, and it's great. But you just have to do it, because if you don't do it, then you're not seen.
Ben, great to see you.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening and watching as well. My name's Matt Deegan. The producer was Matt Hill, with lots of support today from Ollie Peart and some video help from Podcast Discovery. I'll see you next week.